Hi, Hard Times guy Luke. I'm going to continue today with my discussion about my recent week that I spent in the Smoky Mountains, specifically in the Maggie Valley area. And I don't know. If it comes up, we'll talk about stretching your comfort zones. If it doesn't, we won't. This video today is probably going to be a little longer than I like to make videos nowadays. But still, it's going to have to be as long as it has to be because I got some ground I want to cover, and it's just going to take as long as it takes. Today I'm going to talk about a place that I found while I was in Maggie Valley. And I almost missed the place because of what it looked like on the outside. I made a little short piece of video. I'm going to run it now so that you can see what it looked like on the outside. Well, here I am, Maggie Valley, North Carolina. And you might have guessed it, I found a place full of junk. You're walking around here with me on the outside. I know this video's not going to be very good quality sound because there's too much road noise and too much wind, but I had to get this, what this place looks like outside, in the video. Watch your step there, Luke. You getting the idea? Antique Mall, Sutton and Sons. That stuff on the ground there. There's a 56 Ford. They always catch my eye because my first car was a 56 Ford. This one's a 4-door, mine was a 2-door. There it is. There's the A-Team van. Love it when a plan comes together. Walking down here, if you want to, you can buy part of an airplane here. There's the fuselage. There's the doors laying there on the ground. Don't know where the rest of it is. There's some farm implements. That old truck over there goes with this place. Get yourself an Airstream trailer here too if you want one. That's a junky looking place, wasn't it? But I'm glad I went inside. Oh, there's some good things outside too, but boy, there was just a lot of stuff that wasn't very attractive and almost make you say, I think I'll skip this place. I was really surprised when I walked inside and found out what was inside. One of the first things I saw when I went in there was a wanted poster on the walls. It was covered, wanted poster about yay big, and it was in a frame with glass over it. And it was about a gentleman named Popcorn Sutton. I didn't take a picture of the wanted poster, but wish I had. I've got a picture of Popcorn Sutton. You're probably looking at it right now. And he was wanted, and the reward for him was like $7,500. And the name of this place was Sutton's and Sons Antique Mall. And so I was talking to the guy there that owned the place, and I said, "Were you related to Popcorn Sutton?" He said, "Yes, I was. It's real distantly. I traced it back." He said, "Back there about middle to late 1850s, uh, there were two brothers, and my line traces to one of them, and Popcorn Sutton's traces to the other. So we had a great, 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 don't know how many great grandfather in common, but it's back their ways." So uh, those of you who don't know who Popcorn Sutton is, I'm not going to go into that any more than I already have. Go to YouTube and type in that name, Popcorn Sutton. I think his actual name was Marvin. And you can read all about him. In fact, there's a whole series of videos that someone made interviewing him. Interesting guy, but not what this video is about. So you'll have to do that exploration on your own. I encourage you to do it. It's interesting. I enjoyed the research I did on him, and I knew about him and had researched him, watched videos of his long before I made this trip. It's the reason that I did that I thought to ask this man about his relationship to him. But with that, let's get on with it. That's a fender. I think that's off a 55 or a 56 Chevrolet, and it's laying outside. I don't know whether it shows up in the video or not. There's a Texaco sign that was also outside, and that's good stuff there. If the stuff had all been like that, I wouldn't have been so set back about what was out there. Because some of it was, the kind of stuff that people like me are interested in. There's a 76 sign. Had somebody ask me about one of those the other day, and that one's not an old double-sided porcelain. It's made out of fiberglass, but still, those are getting to be valuable too. That and that box, you might have seen it in the video. I like stuff like that. That's just a box. A lot of people use those for their wood stove. It's made out of what I call wainscoting. Some people call that beadboard. And it's just an interesting box. Stuff like that I'm interested in and like. And in the box is I don't know whether you can see it or tell it, but it's got a piece of rope attached to it back there in the back. That's what they call a hay fork. Used to picking up old square hay bales and putting them up in the loft of the barn. I got one hanging on the side of my barn out there, and there's one in that box right there. And I saw one. I was at the Robson auction today, and I saw one of those sell, and it brought, I don't know, $85, something ridiculous like that. I never had seen one of them bring that much, and I don't know why that one did. Wasn't nothing special about it. It's just a hay fork, just like that one. I don't know what he wanted for that one, but you could probably buy mine for $10 or $15, maybe less, depending on how much I like you. A hay fork. I walked inside, and one of the first things I saw just inside the door was this. It's a picture of it's an advertisement, actually, for something, Southern Select beer, I think is what it is. Got a bird dog in it. Anytime you see a bird dog on point like that, I'm interested, and I think that game bird in that picture happens to be a ruffed grouse. But that caught my eye, and I thought, well, maybe this place is going to be all right. Continued in. This is the hallway right in front of the desk where you go in. There's a old post office piece. It's I call those cubby holes, but that's come out of a post office. That's where people come in, got their mail. Postmaster or postal worker put it in from the back side, and the people out front got it from the front side. Went around the corner, and right there was a primitive cupboard. I mean, just plain Jane as can be. One board doors, one board sides with boot jacks, and step back design. I like things like that. In fact, most of the furniture I like is just real similar to that. Real plain, real simple. And there was one. There's another thing I like, something with a lot of drawers in it. I don't know what this particular one was. A lot of spool cabinets are made that way. There's a good example of something old with a lot of drawers in it. I just sold a 2-drawer one of those the past weekend. And I sold it for, I think, it was walnut and, fancier but smaller than that. Sold it for $115. I think I found one in this place that was $375, very similar to the one I sold. There's a portable still of some kind. I don't know whether you can make moonshine whiskey with that thing or not. It's not like the thing popcorn used, but there it says somebody made a still to distill something in. Thought that was interesting. There's a wooden Canada Goose decoy, homemade one somebody's made. I like stuff like that. There's a table, and it's hard to see that table because it's covered up with stuff. If that table was mine, I'd have to have it out there where you could see it, because I'd want you to see and appreciate that table. It's it's jointed there where the legs are jointed. It's like mortise and tenon joints there and pegs in the legs. It's got a drawer in it. That drawer's got a beveled bottom and dovetailed joints on the front and the back end. And the top is a 2-board top. In other words, that top is 2 very wide boards. That the top of that table, I just really loved that table. In fact, I thought I didn't know how I was going to get it home, and I knew my son-in-law wouldn't let me tie it on top of his car, but I thought, man, if I can buy a table for a reasonable price, I think I might try to buy that and figure out how to get it home. And I looked at the price, and they wanted $750 for that table. And that's a little out of my range. In fact, that's way out of my market. I live in Bedford, Indiana, and if you find something like that in Bedford, Indiana, it's usually got a pretty stiff price on it, but not that stiff. So there's a big difference in the market in a vacation area like the Smoky Mountains and what I got in my barn in Bedford, Indiana. But I just showed you that because that's the kind of thing I dearly love, tables and furniture that are made the way that one's made. And my editor was viewing it, and she said, "Look, you're not doing these people any favor with this video, the way you've talked about their prices." The Sutton & Sons Antique Mall in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, let me make this clear right up front, is the best antique mall I've been in the last 30 years, and I've been in lots of them. That's how I feel about it. Now, it may not be the best antique mall. It may not be what you like at all. But for the things I want to see, the things that I like, the kind of things that I love, that place is #1. Now, the problem she had was, I mentioned some of their prices and compared them to some of my prices. Well, look, I'm in Bedford, Indiana. I'm sitting out here in southern Indiana, a rural little burg of a town, and I got a 40 by 40 pole barn over there, and in addition to it here that's 32 foot long, and I don't have any overhead. I live here, and these buildings are here, and they're mine, and I do what I want to. And I'm not trying to run a business. This man, he's in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. He's in a high rent tourist area. If you want to be in business there, it costs you more than being in business here and having a yard sale every once in a while. Although I will say this, if you're a dealer in that area and you want to rent an antique booth, his rent there, I asked him about it. If I lived in that area, I'd have a booth in his mall, because he is more than fair, more than competitive in how he treats his renters and how he runs that business. But the prices there, they seem high to some of us, and even to me. But I got to thinking about it, and the kind of stuff he's got, you only see it every once in a while around here. We got a huge antique mall over at 60 miles from here, over Columbus, Indiana. There's a huge antique mall over there. And it costs 3 times as much to have a 10 by 10 space in that one as it does to rent one from Mr. Sutton. You go in that mall over there and there's lots of stuff in there. It's I don't know, 6, 7 times bigger than Sutton's mall is, maybe 10 to 12 times. I don't know what the square foot of the place is. But you can go around in that place and not see as much of the kind of things I want to see as you see going down the first aisle in Sutton's mall. But when you find it in that mall over at Columbus, Indiana, when you find one of those pieces, you better be willing to pay, because that price is up there. It's right up there with. So it's the kind of merchandise that I love. It's the kind of merchandise that I want to buy. But I've got a cupboard right over there. It's cherry. It's got hand punched tins in it, and they're hand punched by me. I made them. Couldn't find the ones I wanted, so I made my own. You know, if you wanted to know what I wanted for that, last time I actually put a price on it, you'd say, "Man, you're insane." The guy that I priced it to almost bought it, and it was priced more than any pie safe they got there in Maggie Valley. And now you can't even buy it. You can't even buy that. I wouldn't sell it to you. There's a video about it if you want to know why. But so there's things around here that had big prices on them too. There's one in the house that you can't buy, but I paid a lot of money for it. I'd pay a lot of money for another one like it. I'm not going to go back and remake that video, but I'm going to tell you, just because I got a little short of breath at some of the prices that was in there, doesn't mean that stuff's not worth the price. If I wanted it, if I had a place to sit it, if there was something in my home that needed that particular thing there, it's not out of reason. He hadn't got anything in there that's out of reason. He hadn't got anything in there that's out of reason for his region. Go find that kind of stuff in Chicago. Go find that kind of stuff in Nashville, Tennessee. Go find that kind of stuff in Columbus, Ohio. Go find that stuff anywhere up and down the East Coast, and you'll pay that much or more for it. In all those places, New York City, St. Louis. When you find that good stuff, you got to pay for it. There's more of that good stuff in that mall in Maggie Valley, Tennessee than any place I ever saw. I love the place. That's all I'm going to say. There's another cupboard. That happens to be a corner cupboard. You can't tell from looking at it. Looks like it might be a flat front, but it's made to sit in a corner. And it too is very plain. It's got some old yellow paint on it. I like that thing. It was about $1,200. So again, their market's different than my market, but I love that kind of thing. That old candle box that hangs on the wall that's sitting on the table next to that. I like that kind of thing too. There's a dry sink, and whew, man, I'm going to quit telling you what the prices are, because I just let it suffice that if you like this stuff like I do, and you find it like I'm finding it here, many of it in as found original condition, you're going to have to pay to own it. But still, I like it. You don't get to see it very often. And this place, this antique mall, was absolutely full of it. See the old wooden bowls? You don't see those much anymore. There's, you saw the bottom of that cupboard top. That's a cupboard top that's sitting in that dry sink. And the construction, it's got the raised paneled inserts in the door. Those doors are mortise and tenon jointed together, got the pegs in them. I'm not sure whether that cupboard is stained poplar or walnut, but I just love that kind of a thing. There's another primitive cabinet. You can't hardly see it. The stuff in here was so packed in and almost cluttered in the way it was displayed, but they're making up good use of their space. They're filling it up with stuff for sale. It's got a quilt hanging on the door of it, which kind of hides the cupboard, but if you want to examine this, you can get in there and get close to it and see. That's a fine old primitive cupboard. There's another view of it. There's kind of the same colored paint as that cupboard was, and that's Slant Top Desk box. Doesn't have any legs on it. That particular one's sitting on a table, and those are made to sit on a tabletop and used as a writing desk, and you stored stuff inside them. And that's a prime example of one made out of old wide boards and hand planed, and I love stuff like that. That's a pie safe, and there was lots of pie safes in here. That particular one's an older one. It's probably middle 1800s, maybe even early 1800s in the way it's formed. It had hand punched tins, and it had a big price on it too. My daughter Brett's got one that's similar to that one, but it's a good old pie safe. I like that. I like to find a place that's got stuff like that in it. That's another view of, that's another step back cupboard. Yeah, I think that one's a flat front and made to sit against the wall. It's got gorgeous old red paint on it. There's a couple of little cupboards. They're, primitive, plain. Got old, one of them's not quite as old as the other one, but one of them's got the old wrought, handmade in a forge hinges on it. And I just, look at that. Look at that. Oh. There's, now right there's a little, see that little 2-drawer spool cabinet sitting there? That thing was $375 or $475, I'm not sure which, dollars. I got it written down somewhere, but I'm not going to bother looking it up. Doesn't matter. And I love things like that. And I had one made out of walnut, and I just sold it. Actually, since I was down there, a fella come by that looked at it before, and he said, I want to buy that, and I priced it to him for $115. And so I sold it to him. And if I had it down there in Maggie Valley, Tennessee, I guess I could have $400 on it and not be ashamed of it. There's another, that's a shorter kind of a cabinet cupboard thing. It would sit, you could use that like a lamp table or something next to your chair. And it's, again, you can see very simple, very plain, wide boards, square nails. Sweet, sweet. I love that little piece right there. There's that box. We already looked at that. It's, you can see now that a better view of it. It's sitting there on a table. That's an interesting table too. It's got good tapered legs and some interesting yellow paint on it. And I think that board on top of that table is one board. I mean, it was a wide, maybe 35, 36-inch wide board. There's another pie safe, and that's a good early one there too. I don't remember what the price of that one was, $9 something, I think. It's got the double drawers on the top. I don't know why I took that picture. I think just to show you that I think I'm standing back and looking back into the area where that original table I showed you was. I think it's back there against the back wall somewhere. But see how this place is just absolutely full of good things. Look at those that old sugar bucket there and that old measuring piece, and I mean, this place is jam-packed full of stuff like that. There's another little primitive box somebody could use as a wood box or a blanket chest or what, and it's standing next to another good pie safe. There's another view from where you got back from something. Notice, now there's one of those lift top desk in this view that you can see out there in the middle. It's green too, like that other one was, but it's got its own legs. It's you could put a chair Sit at that one with a chair. It's got its own legs. Right next to it there, right of it, with that big wooden bowl sitting on it. It's an old butcher block. Oh. Where can you go to an antique mall and just find one booth after another full of this kind of good stuff? There's another view into someone else's booth, and I can't remember why I took that particular picture, but it gives you that same feeling of just, wow, look at this stuff. Here, that little cupboard there, it's not as old as some of the others were, but that's a good step back cupboard. What I took the picture for, though, actually that cupboard is a child's cupboard. It looks like it. You can't tell from the picture that it's not a full-size cupboard. It isn't. It's something for a child to use or play with. The reason I took the picture was that box that's on the top of it. That's an old box for medicines of some kind. The J.R. Watkins Company, Winona, Minnesota medicines, and it's oh, I just love that. In fact, I like that box well enough that I thought I'm going to try to buy that, but then I checked the price out on it and decided that, you know, I'd have to like that box because I could never sell and get my money back, and maybe my wife or my kids wouldn't like that as well as I did, so I left and didn't buy that box. There's a blanket chest. It's got a lift top on it. It's got a drawer in the bottom of it, and then there's a lift top on it. It's it's a gorgeous thing. It's a little more upscale than some of that more primitive stuff that I looked at. It's got turned legs. You lift that top, and it's got a candle box inside it. But this, oh, there's another spool cabinet. In fact, that one right there, I have one. It's sitting behind me. Right here in this room, right, would be over my left shoulder to you, just about like that one. It's a whole lot like that one. Mine might be just a little bit bigger than that one. It's a spool cabinet, and it's got those drawers in it where the spools were. That one, again, it's sitting on a single drawer nightstand table. I've got lots of those around here too. In fact, I'm sitting here with one in front of me. It's got my computer, mouse, and there's a book laying there I'm going to show you in a little bit. It's this little table right in front of me, very similar to that one. It's got the same kind of legs. Those are turned legs. Mine are partly turned and partly square. But both that table and that spool cabinet were, you know, I looked at the prices on them. They're about 3-4 times my retail. You can come in my barn and pay retail for the things I got that are like that. And I don't know, maybe decide not to sell any of my stuff. Just keep it and let my kids take it to Maggie Valley and sell it at auction someday. I don't know. But, oh, that's there again. A good Coates spool cabinet. There's another low cupboard. It's the old primitive style kind of thing I like. That one right there is that's another step back, and I'm sitting right behind me, and you can't see it. That picture of a basket sitting on top of a painted blue cupboard that's hanging behind me. It's actually hanging on the back of a cupboard that looks just almost exactly like that one. That cupboard right there is in that store. I got one sitting right behind me. The side you're looking at right there is back on the other side of this one here. That picture's hung on the back of it. I got one just almost like that, and it's just a little older. It's a little bit better construction, but normal casual observer would say, well, that cupboard's just like the one you got. There's a slant top box, kind of unusual in that how long it is, and I've got one of those over there on the other side of this room too that's very similar to that one. But oh, this place just it was just full of things like that I like. There's a shelf, it's got a little toy airplane on it. It's got all kinds of little small boxes that are jointed and oh, sweet solid wood, gorgeous little boxes. I love things like that. There's an old bin out of maybe a hardware store or I don't know, maybe even a grocery store, General Mercantile back in the late 1800s. There it is. It's got that old green paint on it. It's just absolutely beautiful. You can see over to the left of it, you can partly see a porcelain Firestone sign. There's another slant top box. I think that was a display cabinet, and it's sitting on top of another one of those one drawer nightstands. There's a sign that was on the wall in one guy's booth, and that's a sign there from that area. I'm not sure with where that place was, but I did see that same name on some signs around there. So that's an old sign taken down from past days in that area, and they brought it in there and hung it on the wall. It's about 6 foot long, about 3 foot tall, and they had a healthy price on that too. That jug, look at that jug. That's a really unusual jug, and I don't like it. I think it's ugly, but that double spouted thing with kind of a handle in between it, like a basket handle, and it had the blue markings on the old salt glaze. I thought, man, that's unusual enough. I'm gonna try to buy that, and I looked at the price on it, changed my mind. It's another thing that I love is that blanket chest that's sitting under it there. It's got the bun legs on it, and there's a better view of that jug, and whew, look at that thing. But they were really, really proud of it, so I didn't even try to buy it. That's I don't know what's a tractor or what that is, a grill off of some kind of an old piece of machinery. I like stuff like that too. I've got a 1937 or 38 Mack truck grill hanging on the wall in this room. There's a couple of what they call buttons, Coca-Cola button signs. I just took a picture of them. I saw one of them sell at auction here in Indiana a few weeks ago, and it brought $200 or $300. And I don't know, that thing hanging there from the ceiling in front of those. That's some kind of a scale model of a Hohner harmonica, and it looks just like a Hohner harmonica, except it's a whole lot bigger. It's probably about 6 foot long. I guess that was something used in a sign in a music store or something. I don't know. I'd never seen one before. There again, I'm just starting to take general pictures of things just to show you there's a blanket chest, there's a jelly cupboard back behind there, there's all kinds of interesting stuff on the wall. And I've got one of those too, there's a cherry corner cupboard. That was wider than mine. Mine's in 2 pieces. The top actually sits off mine, so it makes it easier to handle. I bet that thing right there would take 6 men to move. But it's a corner cupboard made out of cherry. And again, it's got if you like that kind of thing, be ready to pay for it. There's another cupboard. I think that one there's not a corner cupboard, just a flat front, or not flat front, but step back cupboard with glass doors in the top. Really, it's just chock full of stuff. Can't hardly see the cupboard for the junk they got in it, but it's good junk. There's another one of those slant top desk, like that green one we looked at earlier, and it's sitting there on a wider table. In fact, I think that table maybe is more than just a one night or a nightstand. It's a little wider and it's got a leaf on the back of it that I think stands up. There's some kind of a decoy sitting on that. And just look at that stuff. Look at that place. It's on the back side of that. Somebody's taken one of those high dollar salt glazed cobalt blue marking Crocs and turned it into a lamp. Whoever did that drilled a hole in that thing to make it into a lamp. Somebody ought to just shoot them, but there it is again. See that? Somebody ruined that Croc to turn it into a lamp. But it makes an attractive lamp, but it's not worth near as much as it was before they drilled that hole in it. There's a whole shelf full of Crocs, and if you know anything about me, you know I like Crocs, and I like all those. Would have brought all of them home with me if they had been at the right price, but they weren't. That's Ike, and I don't know, his playmate got a toy, and they've already tore it up, and he's wearing it on his head. What'd you think of that? You ever see such a place? And that wasn't an antique store where the proprietor would have been somebody like me who that's the kind of stuff they like, so that's the kind of stuff they bought, and they had a store full of it. That was an antique mall. That was a big place with lots of booths, and when you went around there, all the things in there were like that. All of them. I mean, they didn't have any what I call yard sale stuff in there. They had some other stuff beside that I didn't film or didn't take pictures of that weren't things I'm interested in, like things I don't know anything about, like Civil War relics and weapons. And they had an area that had cast iron, that like a Griswold. They had a Griswold skillet. That thing must have been it was more than 24 inches in diameter, and it had a handle on both sides. I think it had a price on it like $1,500. I'd never seen one that big, but that place was just full of stuff like that. A great place. Sutton and Sons Antique Mall, right on the main drag. I think they call it Soco Road or Soco Highway, right on the main drag in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. And I went there 2 days and spent quite a bit of time. And I even bought something there. I'll show you something. My wife said, I don't know why you like that place so well. There's nothing in there we can afford to buy. And I said, we can afford to buy anything we want in there. It's just that you're a little too close to your money to pay the price that some of that kind of stuff going to cost. If you like it, you could buy it. So that's the kind of stuff you like. You saw something you like and you want to set it down in your country farmhouse or your log cabin. You saw where you can find it. Find a whole bunch of it. But I did buy something. I'm going to show you what I bought. There it is. You see that? My good friend Bob Canada, if you're watching this, you'd enjoy this book too. It's called Wing and Shot. It's written by a man called Robert Wheely, and if you spell his name backwards, it would be pronounced. There he is with some of his dogs. It'd be pronounced Elhue, and he's the developer of the Elhue kennels that produced a lot of champion American field trial pointers over the years. And I think this book was published in 1964 the first time. And I got lots of books like this because I bird hunted all my life. And when I was a young man, I read books to learn things about training dogs. And so I bought books like this, new ones, and paid retail for them. This particular one, retail price for it in 1964 was $8.50. Right there it is, printed inside the dust cover. And I could have bought this book brand new for $8.50. And I found it in this antique shop, and I thought, well, there's something I can buy. The books aren't usually that much. And I asked the guy, I said, I don't see any price on this book. And he said it's inside there written in pencil. And I started looking. I found it. There it was, 40. I said, $40 for that book? And he said, yeah, it's $40. I said, I thought I was going to find something I could buy in here, but I'm not paying $40 for that book. I could if I want to, but I'm not going to. So he said, well, maybe we could adjust that a little bit. Turns out we did adjust it. I finally managed to get him to sell me the book for $20. But that's about 3 or 4 times more than I wanted to pay for it. Usually if I find something like this, now granted, something like this book's out of print, and if I went to buy this online, it'd probably be expensive. But and it's there's people that would want this book for the same reason I wanted it. But I'm just not accustomed to paying that much for stuff like this. But I want to be able to say I bought something from this guy, and this is the closest I could come to it. And I've already read this book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Got my money's worth already. And I'm going to put it in the library with the rest of the books that I've got that are similar to this, about bird hunting or about birds, or mostly Tail Feathers by Gene Hill, and I don't know, I've got books by different authors that write about dogs and write about birds. And this book's going in that collection. I bought it, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, Sutton's and Sons Antique Mall. And hope you enjoyed this video. I'm a Hard Times guy.